The credit for the beginning of this whole field goes back to a California psychologist by the name of Roger Callahan. As he later related the story, he was working in his home office with a woman, well, we'll call her Mary, for an intense fear of water. It seems that her fear was so intense that whenever she even thought about a body of water bigger than a bathtub, she would get really sharp pains in her stomach. Well, one day, as she was droning on about her fear, and they'd been working apparently for many months about this, Dr. Callahan tried a simple experiment. He finger tapped gently on a certain acupuncture point just below Mary's eye, right here. And he just took a couple of seconds to do it. And a few seconds later, she exclaimed, "Dr. Callahan, I don't know what you did, but I don't have those intense rumblings in my stomach anymore." Well, Callahan had probably heard things like this before in working with her over several months, but he took Mary to his backyard swimming pool to check it out, just as he had done many times in the past. This time, however, instead of hanging back, she was tripping on ahead. She wanted to get to this huge body of water that had been so fearful for her in the past. She immediately went to the shallow end of the pool, and she leaned down, splashed water in her face, and then she went over to the deep end, sat on the edge, kicked her feet in the water. It was obvious that she'd lost that fear. And Callahan was now afraid that the poor lady was going to drown because she didn't know how to swim, never learned. But she said to him, "Don't worry, Dr. Callahan. I'm not stupid. I know I can't swim, but I have lost my unreasonable fear of water."
Just with that simple 5-second tapping with your fingers on that acupuncture point.
Yes. Callahan found out later that for about 25% of the patients who came through his door with one fear or another, simply tapping on that one point brought them permanent relief. And then he added a number of other acupuncture points, typically above the chest, upper body, face, to that, and was achieving something like a 95% success rate.
So this is what led to the simplified version of EFT.
Yes. Gary Craig, who was a Stanford University electrical engineering graduate, learned about Callahan's success, took his class, simplified it, and went on to create what is now called EFT, probably the most successful and the simplest treatment for emotional issues that has ever been developed. I have used EFT with patients, oh gosh, several times daily for almost the last 10 years. And this stuff just works. I know I could count my failures on the fingers of one hand. It just really works.
And does it last? Are there any side effects?
As far as we know, first of all, the change is permanent. Now, to clarify, if you were to be treated, say, for a fear of mice running across your kitchen floor, and then maybe a year later, maybe you're sleeping out on the front porch and a mouse runs across your nose, then you might have to be treated again. But apart from that, it seems to be very permanent. And in the many years that EFT has been used by literally tens of thousands of therapists, apparently, we've never heard of one negative reaction. So we believe it has no side effects.
Does EFT help at all with the healing of wounds?
Well, that's interesting. Whenever you have a physical condition, like a wound or a sore back or something like that, chances are good there's an emotional problem that goes right along with it. And so what we will frequently do is to treat the emotional problem first. And then by then we've reduced the severity of the physical problem. And sometimes we work on problems which don't seem to have any kind of emotional connection at all. Sometimes we just work right on the physical problem.
Another story?
You guessed. This one happened, it was about 7 years ago. We had recently purchased the 2-story building that now houses the clinic. And Rachel, who was our massage therapist at the time, said, "Chuck, you know, we're going to need a washer-dryer combo because when I do massage, okay, we get dirty sheets, we get blankets, etc." So I began searching, soon found a nearby lady over in Marshall who had a Maytag combo for sale. I met with her to make the purchase. gave her the check, and we chatted for a few minutes about the weather. Then we both had to get back to work, so we both arose to go. But I saw this intense expression of pain as she rose from her chair. And being naturally snoopy, I asked her about it, and she said, "I fell on my basement stairs last night, and I hurt my tailbone, and I can scarcely walk. I could hardly get out of my car in the parking lot. It's awful." So I asked her, "Shall we see if we can fix it?" Well, you know what she was going to say. She was in agony. So I took a few minutes to explain to her how EFT works. It seems a little weird. And then we did a few rounds. Maybe we took 15 minutes total to work on that lower back pain. Then I suggested that she get up slowly so as not to hurt herself and check it out to see if we did anything to the level of pain. And she kind of looked at me as though I were crazy, because all we'd done is we did a little tapping for 15 minutes, and that pain was so intense that she could hardly walk. But she slowly arose, got out of her chair, expecting this pain, and then her facial expression changed. "It's gone," she said. "It is gone. The pain is gone." Now, I kind of doubted this, but I thought, well, all right, let's check it out, because we always like to check it. So we walked out of the door and had her step up and down on the curb. And indeed, if the pain wasn't gone, it was almost gone. It was just almost gone. Very interesting. So you can actually work on emotional issues and physical issues, regardless of whether there's an emotional part there or not.
No wonder you love to use EFT so much. Is there any side effects, or is it easy to learn?
Well, it turns out to be easy to learn. Usually, after I've worked with a client for maybe a half an hour in the office, by then they pretty well know how to do it. Now, we can also do it by telephone, also by email. Actually, EFT seems to work just about as well that way, and sometimes better, because the client doesn't have to travel to come to the office. We even do it as a surrogate for very young children, or for babies, and even for animals. Works really well for animals, because if an animal is hurting, they often don't like to be tapped on. So it's a real help for people who own horses or dogs or cats, that sort of thing.
Is there any limit to what EFT can do?
I suspect, Mira, that the limits are more in the mind of the therapist. I seem to have been able to make changes in the thyroid function and blood pressure of patients, and other therapists have been able to document changes even in the stickiness of blood platelets, which can be a serious problem for patients. It's quite the deal. This concludes a first look at helping to heal in Tracy. We'll have more stories to share about acupuncture, energy healing, mercury detox, thermography, and more. Thanks very much for allowing us to share this with you. We're here at helpingtoheal.us, phone number 507-629-3900 in Minnesota. Greg Devereaux of Tracy has done our video work and is available to help you at 507-629-4705 in Tracy, Minnesota. Thanks for being with us.